I really expanded my knowledge in how to run a company, how to like market a company, how to do all these things. And I love learning. So that was really epic. And then closing it down was actually epic, I'll be on in a weird way, right? So my co-director kind of made the like not made the call, but she was like brought it up, and then we had lots of conversations about it. And I was like, no, I'm feeling it too. Let's close it down. And I just didn't feel, I know that like months before that, me would have had a meltdown about this and been like, oh my God, I'm a failure or whatever, or like not handled it well. But that me was like, okay, I'm a like I can handle this like a boss bitch. And I did handle like a boss bitch. And I sat there and I was like, that was amazing. And I feel great about this. And so I
Mm.
think, yeah, continuously doing big, brave things, compiles to, a big moment of just being like, well, it's totally fine. Like,
Mm.
and
Yeah.
it's actually exciting. It's actually a benefit instead of a
Mm.
failure or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
I'm your host, Tiffany Gilliland, an Australian business and mindset coach with 10 years' experience in online marketing and the creator of the Business Bravery framework. I help coaches to be brave so you can sign more clients even if you hate marketing and sales feel icky. From signing your next paying clients through to launching that dream group coaching program, the Business Bravery framework helps you take bigger leaps without the mindset spirals. It's helped my clients double their investment in me, make thousands of dollars, and truly build their dream business. In this episode, I had the pleasure of chatting with Amanda Petra, a world traveling website designer, mindset mentor, soon to be author, and soon to be off grid lifer. Known for supporting rapidly evolving businesses, Amanda understands the unique needs of ambitious individuals who continuously strive for growth. Throughout her years of creating epic websites, Amanda has developed an intuitive approach to design that captures the true essence of her clients and allows their businesses to expand as they continue to evolve. Recognizing that many ambitious entrepreneurs face mindset challenges like self-doubt, hesitation, and fear, Amanda expanded her services to provide holistic support. She transforms her clients' inner world, empowering them to confidently elevate their business and online presence, supporting them to achieve their most ambitious goals through developed bravery, self-leadership, and a website that can keep up. Whether you're looking to revamp your website or transform your mindset, Amanda is here to help. Reach out in the DMs on Instagram at amanda.petra after the podcast to learn more. With that said, this is an amazing episode, and I can't wait to share with you Amanda's stories of business bravery, past, present, and future. Now, who's ready for some business bravery inspiration? Let's dive in. Hello, everyone. I am super excited to be chatting to my guest this week, Amanda. So excited to be talking to you. Thank you for joining us, and super excited to hear all of like what your bravery stories are, past, present, and future, and all of the good stuff that you've got coming up. So, for those at home, please let us know like who you are, what you do, who you help, and what brave things you have going on in your business right now.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'm Amanda Petra.
Yeah.
What am I doing right now? I am a website designer, but also a mindset mentor, and I'm balancing those because I am a creative and I don't know, people loving, helping person. And that's really kind of evolved over time where I was unleashing my own creativity, helping people and supporting them in their own ambitious goals. And it started to come up for them that there was, mindset stuff in the way. So I kind of find myself doing both, but now it's definitely coming up where more and more people want more mindset from me. So moving more into the coaching space, which has been really exciting. Just added NLP master practitioner stuff to my, resume, which has been really cool. And yeah, helping some of my first clients with their my more recent clients with that. I was helping more with like business and that kind of stuff before. I'm more so moving into the more personal stuff now, which is really, really fun. Yeah, I think that's the brave transition. And then currently I am relaunching my new website for my web design. I've iterated my packages. That's been really cool. And I suppose in life, the brave stuff I'm doing is moving my whole life into a semi-truck off grid. And really kind of going against the grain of how you're meant to live life. So that's going to be really exciting.
Well, hang on.
And
How are you meant to live life? Like,
I
tell
don't
tell
think
me
you're
more.
right.
What?
Everyone else I tell, or when you say that, everyone's like, well, why wouldn't you just buy a house? And I'm like, it's just not for me. I've been seeing how, or for me, I enjoy coming home to the comfort of a house. That's why we're doing such a big one. So first of all, it started off as telling my partner, let's do van life. And we've now just gone like bigger and bigger. But I've realized that I love the comfort of like a really nice, cozy home, right? With comforts, but also when I come to one that's kind of like solidified in one place, that kind of drains me, or it kind of makes me sad, not sad, but kind of like this could be cooler. Like there could be something cool outside my window every day. So yeah, and I've found someone that's my partner and that is also on board for that. So that's been cool. We're going to go against normal living together.
Mm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think I've been in this whole online entrepreneur world and everything for so long that like I've come up like I follow van lifers on YouTube and that kind of stuff. So yeah, to me, like it's always interesting when somebody says, "Oh, I'm not doing life the way it's supposed to be done." And it's like, oh, well, what is that these days? Because I think, especially like post 2020 world, like a lot of those supposed tos can be just thrown out, especially yeah, with the way like things are changing, a lot more people can work from home, even in their
Yeah.
9 to 5 jobs and do those kinds of traveling lifestyles and all that good stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, it really opened the doors for people to work wherever. And, I've been traveling and working, and that's been cool. But yeah,
Mm.
just really adding that extra element of like having my office like driving by the high through the highway and driving by beaches would be really cool. Yeah, yeah. And I've only just, I don't even know if I've met like full-time van lifers. I guess my friend's doing it right now. But yeah, it's like we all know them online. And I'm like, okay, now I need to bring more into my actual life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, where are you looking? I will get back to the business stuff, but I'm just very curious because like you're over like based sort of Perth or like Western Australia. Where are you looking at traveling to, or like do you have in mind where you might head to or what you want to check out? Or
Yeah, well, we have currently bought the truck here, and then we're
Mm.
buying the trailer in Melbourne because we're building it in Melbourne with my partner's dad, which would be cool because he's a house builder. And yeah, so I'm getting my truck license. I've been driving it, but I'm getting my truck license in 2 weeks. And then I've been practicing, and then we're driving to Melbourne in 3 weeks, which would be really cool. So it's like a 4-day journey.
Mm.
And then yeah, building it. We're probably gonna fly back and then build it for like a month or hopefully it'll take like 2 months, but we'll see. And then yeah, maybe spend some time there. Also I don't really like Melbourne. We're gonna come back pretty much to WA, and it's just such a big state. There's so much to explore. We're gonna go, see the Pink Lake and but like actually stay it. What I love about it is we can go and like be like, well, we're gonna live near this waterfall for a while type thing, instead of being like, we'll drive this 8 hours to this waterfall and then drive back later or in 3 days or so. Yeah, we're gonna be in WA for about another year and then probably go to the East Coast, but maybe like Brisbane type thing, Gold Coast type thing for like exploring. We do have to spend some time in Canberra with my partner's work, which would be interesting and cold, but at least I'll have like heat, like coffee, and then he'll be like just there working in his office because he's just upgrading his business, his work. Yeah,
Yeah.
so that is
Yeah.
what we're doing.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So I was just wondering about, yeah, all that, like whether you were going to hit the East Coast or head up to Cairns and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, just,
Yeah,
um,
here
um,
and there are the only places I really want to go
okay.
because it's nice weather here and nice weather there. And then, like, I've lived in Darwin, too hot. I've lived
Mm,
in Melbourne, Sydney, too cold and wet. Well, I love
yeah.
Sydney a lot, but we did a lot of that already, and we probably will still do that, and then ride our motorbikes around Sydney again and do that for a little while. So, yeah,
Nice. Yeah. 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 My husband, he's 6'4" and doesn't like small spaces. So for me, van life is very exciting because I'm like 5'2" and just like, oh, I can handle small spaces and being able to move and everything, that kind of thing. But it's definitely that'll be a TIFF solo journey in like maybe in a future variation of my life or that kind of stuff. So yeah.
yeah, yeah, that's cool. But like, maybe we can build you a semi truck. It's really cool. And it's weird. Like I've always loved semi trucks. I don't know why. And like, first of all, we had a bus, so we went middle ground, and then we got rid of that, and now we're like, well, there's less rules and stuff for trucks.
Mm.
And then yeah, like that would be great for his 6 foot self.
Mm.
You don't need to get
Yeah.
a huge one, and it'd be cool.
Mm.
And then you can just come traveling with us.
Oh my gosh. All right, things to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the plan was to actually, there's a lot of people that are like, oh my God, we kind of want that. And then there's one guy who's looking at, he suggested it to like a old fire truck. And he's converting that because he's like, it's cheaper to buy that instead of like a big fancy caravan. So
Mm. Mm.
yeah, everyone's
Yeah.
doing a lot of different stuff lately.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm. Okay, so I should probably bring it back to some business like stuff, but to my mind, all of this stuff interconnects. Like if you're, doing what you like love in life, then it's easier on the business side and all that sort of stuff. But
For sure.
yeah, you mentioned that, well, you mentioned earlier, and then I kind of know because we've been connected for a while that you've been like bringing in more of the mindset stuff into your business and like mindset coaching or mentoring or along those lines. Sort of what brave like shifts or things did you have to kind of contend with to sort of start bringing that in? Were there any for you, or was it easy to just be like, oh, this people need this, I'm going to do it? Or yeah.
That's a really good question. It was a little bit of both, I guess, is paradox. Because it's been like something that's been like over here all the whole time. It's been like help people with their mindset. And I'm like, okay, but I'm dealing with like my mindset. Like I think we connected, or basically we connected because I had crippling anxiety, like you've talked about. And there was a lot of struggles there. And I worked through a lot of grief after losing my mom. And it was like I was working through those processes, but the world was calling me to like work, do mindset stuff for other people. So that's kind of how it felt. But it was like a bit of a snowball. But yeah, I think really just claiming being a coach now, it's just like it's just had to be done. Everyone was like really noticing when I talked about mindset stuff. So I felt like yeah, I was really being heard when I would talk about that, and I was working on my own. And then I was like, okay, well, they really want are asking for help through their own stuff. So yeah, that's where like the transition had to happen. I think the hardest thing was um finding like how you want to deliver and how who you want to help, or how you can help. And yeah, really making it your own process without it being like not a process. I don't know. I like to go with the flow, but there's a lot of techniques that I could implement. But yeah, it's just more of a natural way to do it, but also taking them through like a full transformation. Like recently I did like an experience with the shaman, and she was like, you can't microdose what you're doing. You have to go through like the full cycle. And I'm like, that's exactly how I feel about coaching. Like you can't just like do the little bits. That never got me anywhere. It was a lot of like back and forth. You kind of like retreat back into your own ways. You do make some progress, but I think it's really beneficial to go all the way around. Yeah.
Mm.
So yeah, I've worked through that and I'm taking people through that. So it's been really interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's kind of interesting what you say about like the whole doing it on your own and like moving forward and then sort of like retreating back. But the process of going all the way round, like, is that like something that has to happen with a coach, do you think, from your experience so far? Or
No, I think it's helpful to be guided. It makes it a lot quicker. However, I don't know, I suppose like a few of us have taken ourselves through it, but it just feels like you are trying to piece it together from person to person or from lesson to lesson, whereas someone on the outside can see like what you might need and what you can get out of it at the end of it. Like so you might not know where you're trying to go. And I think that's really beneficial to have someone on the outside for.
yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I definitely think like it helps having someone on the outside too to have like they can see the stuff. Like if you're just trying to do it on your own, you tell yourself the same thoughts or something, and you might not see that they're not true or something. But then like you've got somebody on the outside to go, hey, that might not even be true. And but you're just so used to having those similar thoughts or something like that. Like one of my old ones used to be, oh, I'm behind, I'm always behind. And like that's how I'd start out my days. And
Mm.
then, yeah, it wasn't until like I worked with a coach that they were kind of like, it doesn't have to be that way. We can kind of work on that. So, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You create your own reality and like you can accept that you can even choose that time isn't real, which is like the ultimate one to say, right? Time isn't real. But really, even just like slowing down and being present in the moment actually feels like it slows down time around you. So just making the decision to actually notice that and then
Mm.
take that forward with you, like that can change your whole life. But if no one's told you, no one's told you, or you don't even think about it in a different way.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh. Sorry, I'm just sitting here going, time isn't real. Oh my gosh. Yeah, you
It's
have a
already like,
great point. I'm
whoa.
like, yeah.
Well, it is a construct, right? Someone decided that this is 12 p.m., this is 3 p.m. And like they decided the numbers that it only goes to 12 and 24. Like you can think about that to any degree.
Yeah,
You can
true.
think about like
Mm.
you've been on this planet for however many years as well. But like if you didn't keep track, what would that be like?
Yeah, yeah. Oof, yeah. And I mean, like at some point in like our like early ancestors, caveman times or something like that, like I mean, I guess, they had the sun moving, and so that was maybe a way to track time in a certain way, but not quite the whole. I'm sure the caveman wasn't going, oh my gosh, or maybe the early farmer or something wasn't being like, oh, if I don't get the fields done by the time the sun is down, then I'm a terrible person and I should just give it this farming thing.
Yeah, maybe they don't go that far. They're just like, if I don't get the seeds in, they'll be frozen type thing. Like they
Yeah.
do that, but then they do that from feeling too, which is really cool, right? I would assume you would have to. You would know that the season's about this long, you have to get it in at this time. Because farmers even now have
Mm,
that, or
yeah.
like in their clock, their own personal clock.
Yeah.
Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and then yeah, they would work it out that way. I was thinking about caveman time today too, about
So it's not just
communication.
me.
No, it's so interesting, right? I was thinking about communication, right? How it started off as like we weren't able to communicate, and it started to make me think about like how we always wonder, or always like, we're so misunderstood by other people. I can't seem to explain myself to other people, and I'm like, there was a time when we couldn't even talk to each other. Like we literally like took, you drew something, you drew a vase, or like say there was a vase or whatever, and you pointed to the drawing, which showed them like it was the vase or the cup. And that's how you communicated something. And that was the start of it. And I'm like, first of all, so much misunderstanding would have happened there. And second, like, did anyone go, oh my God, I'm so misunderstood like during that time? Yeah. And I was just like, wow. And your brain just goes on and on about, something. Because sometimes, I'm being misunderstood. I'm not good at communicating. You tell yourself these stories, and it's like, at some point, we didn't even have communication. Like, that would have been
Mm.
nice. Your brain wouldn't have even had words to like bother you with. That would have been cool, actually.
Mm. Yeah, I guess I'm guessing back then it's like things happened, but we didn't have thoughts about the things that were happening. Like perhaps there wasn't those
Yeah.
stories to
You
contend with.
went from the
Yeah.
instinct. I believe, like, right. And I was also thinking about that. It was just, you know, a lot of like our problems now come from like overthinking, and we end up moving into our minds and not listening to our bodies. And that time you were thinking, you were feeling from your body, you were not even reacting. I think you would probably have had pre-reaction and then reaction as well, right? You would have been
Mm.
prepped or primed. Whereas then we now float up into our minds and we stop feeling, and we like cut off those instincts, and it causes so much chaos and so much like disconnection. And that's where like all of our hesitation and anxiety and all of that comes from, because we're not like in our bodies utilizing those skills and those intuitions. Yeah,
Mm.
this
Yeah.
is the things I think about.
Yeah, no, actually, same for me. Although, like, I like to kind of chuckle, especially at my own overthinking tendencies, and just sort of think about, like, oh man, it's lucky that back in caveman times, they weren't, beating themselves up for like, not finding food and going, oh, I must be a terrible human and I should just stop this whole trying to find food stuff. The same way that I've done with my business at times, in the past before I learned about mindset and things like that. Just like, just like, yeah, we wouldn't have become a species if we'd have had to contend with those extra thoughts and that overthinking. And yet I like to kind of imagine that that caveman having these weird thoughts.
That would
But
be funny. But yeah,
yeah,
yeah, they were just like, cool, I'm gonna starve. Like that
yeah,
was their only thought.
yeah, yeah,
I guess, and then it would be fear of, and then I guess their only thing would have been action. Like all you could do is tomorrow go out and hunt again, and
yeah.
that's it.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
a nice time that would have been.
Yes and
but
no.
at the
I think there's bonuses and
yeah.
negatives. Like, I don't know. I like the fact we can like, picture the future and imagine some of that stuff and yeah, some of that
Yeah,
kind
I
of
love visualizing those kinds of things. But yeah, when you let it get really like chaotic and like really negative, that's when like you have kind of a problem or like when you need a little bit of outside help, I think. Um, and just really yeah, a little bit of that mindset stuff. Because yeah, overthinking is just I think again, just leaving your body and you're just in your mind. So yeah, just going back.
yeah. Yeah. Ah, okay. So tell me a bit about you getting started with your business. Like perhaps like not in this most recent iteration, but maybe yeah, somewhere in the past. Like what brave things did you have to do to get to where you are now? Or what's a couple of brave stories you might have?
Yeah, okay. I've actually never thought about this. So I was just like, I'm gonna come in, we're gonna think about this here. So, but I do know. So yeah, I started my business. Well, it was first of all in COVID, which like to me, I didn't really go, I never think about, oh my God, there's an economic crisis. I can't do business and business is going to be bad, which has been really beneficial to me. I think I just do that because I just like to ignore what society does. Like I like to go the opposite
Mm.
direction. That's been beneficial.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started in COVID but before that I was like designing website or I designed like our own website for a bus life and played around with that and helped other people with their websites. Like, so yeah, I don't know. It felt brave to ask people for money for sure. I remember like, so all website designers get like, okay, what's like $150 for like 29 hours of like work things. So that was an interesting, like, I guess it's a mindset thing that I worked through. And I think every business owner starts to work through. But yeah, that was more so like early stages. And then what other brave stuff? I think
Before
really,
you move on, sorry, before you
yeah,
move on, like what did you do to shift from the whole, oh, that'll be $150, please, and it's, 4 weeks of work or whatever, or 2 weeks of work. How did you shift that?
that's true. Okay, that's a
Hmm.
lot. It doesn't have to be a long process, to be honest. I think just really, noticing your worth and noticing like you don't need to get paid by how hard something is. I I think that's really built into our society potentially of just like it has to feel hard, it has to be horrible. I still noticed went back to that like recently. I was like, why isn't this isn't hard? I don't, you go, I don't deserve this, whatever. That's a really old story of like, well, it doesn't have to be hard. Like you get to decide what it's like. And then there's value, and like getting paid by value was like eye-opening to me at the time because I was working hourly before that in jobs or like salary, etc. But getting paid by value of what you're delivering to someone and how that can change someone's life, that was huge. But yeah, you don't have to like charge so much, but it also doesn't matter how much you charge. You're not ripping anyone off. If someone sees the value in paying you a certain amount, they've decided that that amount is comfortable for them or whatever, and then they say yes, and you say yes, and then you're both happy. The whole point is to make both of yourselves happy. Same thing as like don't work with people that you don't jive with. Like that was a huge lesson actually as well. Um,
Yeah,
it
I
just
think we
it
all
just
have to
makes
learn that one.
yeah, yeah. And it just makes life worth living. It makes business worth doing when you go, oh, I actually like this person. I do agree to work with them instead of I'm agreeing to work with them out of desperation or fear or whatever. That's never a good place to come from, for sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I hope that answers that.
Yeah, definitely some of that thinking, like for me, the whole in the early days of my business, like because my business wasn't earning the amount of money that I wanted, if somebody said, I want to work with you, I felt like I couldn't say no in the beginning because I was, like I think my dad's voice, my dad was very like pretty cool. But yeah, his voice would come into my head and would just be like, oh, do you want to work or do you want a job or not? Like,
Yeah,
there was none of
yeah.
this, especially because I mean, imagine like from his time, you got paid more, money went further than it does now. So that there maybe wasn't as much necessity in sort of going, hey, that's not worth it, or yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And like I think that's a big part of like living differently again. Like, you have to decide, how do you want your life to look or feel? Do you want to keep just taking those jobs and just like living off that like constant cycle? Or do you want to decide that like, no, business can look like this and then it does? Essentially. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah, that's kind of what I'm working on at the moment in my business because like I've just come back from kind of chronic pain flare up and now I'm trying to work on like you said, like the not working as hard and the, just making things easier or streamlining things or just yeah, making small amounts of effort become like big results instead of and like working out where that energy and attention goes and that sort of stuff. So
Yeah. I
yeah.
find as business owners, we're always like, yeah, it's when it starts to feel easier, you go, oh, like what else can I add to this? Or, this isn't, I'm not doing enough, so it's not worth that. Now I need to like make it better or what, I don't know, make it different. And it's like you're constantly chasing this thing that doesn't need to exist, this like friction, because you've just actually grown and
Mm.
there's no friction there anymore because your skills have grown. So,
Yeah.
and that's why people are paying you eventually, like, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for me, like it never comes like knowingly from a place of I need to work more, but it definitely sometimes comes from a place of, oh, that looks exciting. I have time for that now because all of these other things that I do much faster and, I don't overthink them now. So it's like, oh, let's, this other shiny thing that looks awesome. And yeah.
100%. Yeah.
Mm,
I've had so many like businesses essentially. And like I started a company recently and then I've actually closed it because well, it wasn't going to be what I wanted it to be. And then it was just like really cool lesson and I really enjoyed it and I learned so much and there's nothing wrong with it. But like, getting that wasn't really shiny object syndrome. But, we all get these ideas as business owners and these like, oh my God, I have time for this and excitement. And like you just go that way. And I'm not a person that focuses on just one thing. Clearly, I'm already still doing two things,
mm,
but just really like channeling into what you're actually enjoying and you balance those few things instead of being like, oh, let's just kind of like forget this and move over here. Uh, or yeah, fill that gap of time. Like if you can fill that gap of time with something that actually calms your nervous system and is
mm,
like supporting the other stuff that you're focused on instead of
mm.
pulling away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really interesting what you said about the closing the business down. Do you mind if I ask you some questions about that? Because like
Sure.
that's a huge brave step, don't like, wouldn't you say? Like,
Yeah. Starting it was really
mm,
okay. Yeah. Starting it was brave. I got like even we did that in December. So I had a co-director and we were doing systems for people, which was great. And we did lots of testing and we had some beta clients, which was great. However, is more so the system that we were using. We were going to build our own and then we found one. Like, okay, we'll work with this. And then I think that company started to have some internal issues or something. I don't know. You just started to feel bad vibes like going on. And I'm like, I don't trust that this will support my clients how I want it to. So we kind of made the decision. But starting it was hard, but really cool and like really like expansive and learned a lot and did a lot of, big company building stuff. That was cool. And yeah, I really, expanded my knowledge in like how to run a company, how to like market a company, how to do all these things. And I love learning. So that was really epic. And
mm,
then closing it down was actually epic, I'll be on in a weird way, right? So my co-director kind of made the like not made the call, but she was like brought it up and then we had lots of conversations about it. And I was like, no, I'm feeling it too. Let's close it down. And I just didn't feel I know that like months before that, me would have had a meltdown about this and been like, oh my God, I'm a failure or whatever, or like not handled it well. But that me was like, okay, I can handle this like a boss bitch. And I did handle like a boss bitch. And I sat there and I was like, that was amazing. And I feel great about this. And yeah. So I
mm,
think, yeah, continuously doing big, brave things, compiles to, a big moment of just being like, well, it's totally fine. Like,
mm.
and
Yeah.
it's actually exciting. It's actually a benefit instead of a
Mm.
failure or whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
It
And
made
I
my
would
business better,
mm,
actually. Sorry. It made my business better. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Yeah. Yeah, I was just thinking like it's the fact that your thinking is so calm and ordered about that. It's like I definitely it feels like it's a very aligned decision for you of like, yeah, this is the right decision at the right time for me right now and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I can just imagine for like in for other people in other situations, like there's a whole range of emotions that could be there. And of course, like closing, like deciding to close down a business or a company or anything like that, like definitely there's no failures there. Like there's just, like at least you went out and you tried it and that kind of stuff. And I know you don't need to hear that for me, but I wanted to say that for anybody listening of
For
like,
sure.
yeah, the
Yeah.
reason I'm asking about this is not because it's like, oh, let's find the challenges, but actually it's like, oh, I love how, you tried something. I mean, I've done that so many times, closed things down, failed at things and just been like, yeah, this isn't the right fit for various reasons and things like that. And yeah.
Yeah. It's a little bit of like
Mm.
surrender. I feel like that whole time and like the last months and months have been like
Mm.
teaching the surrender of like, well, this is not even that this is happening for a reason, but just being like, well, I can handle this, and then I can also handle this, and like, and there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with what just happened, and yeah, it really yeah, like people see it as starting and stopping a business. Well, I saw it as like a stepping stone in all of the things that were happening around me. Like I did a lot of healing, other stuff that about in the last like months
Mm.
around that. And it was like this happened, then this thing happened. And it was all these big stepping stones of like of just not even shedding away at this point, just they were building blocks, I think, at this point, just like going back up, after the shedding has stopped, the building blocks started to come and they were big lessons, and
Mm.
it was cool. It was a great process. And yeah, just surrendering to like, okay, well, that's another thing that's doing something for me. I don't know exactly what, and that's okay. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've been going through a lot of similar stuff actually, like, like just with working through past trauma stuff that I accidentally triggered and was like, oh, I need to work through this because it's really having an impact. And then that
Mm-hmm.
had an impact on my business. But now kind of going through this phase of like changing up how my business operates and works and things like that. And I don't really see it clearly. I'm just kind of taking taking actions and seeing how it goes. But it's like fumbling my way through it, but like in a good way, like not in a negative way, but just sort of like, yeah. So yeah, I think
So
that
you're
part of
surrendering to the fumble then, the like rolling
um
forward.
I wasn't, or I didn't have that in my mind until you said surrendering, and I was like, oh yeah, that's what I need to do a bit more of. Let's lean into that. So
Yeah. You just gotta like free fall, like sort of. Yeah, it's like a tumble. It's a gentle tumble. Yeah, it does feel like that. It feels like you're like in the dark, like trying to like
mm,
move forward, but you're like, okay, I don't know what's happening, but I can see that like up there's some light. So we're just gonna keep going and looking
yeah.
for it. Yeah,
Mm.
I think that's what all of business is kind of. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. I
I
think
think at
I
some stage, yeah, you just get through another iteration of like, okay, well, this is what it's been, but it can't stay like that forever. Like everything's constantly evolving, and that's kind of what I'm doing with my web design clients. Like, I
mm,
love to be there for their evolutions. Like, I'm here for ambitious women because we're constantly evolving. Like, your business can't it'll stay in the light for a little bit and then it'll go to this like, what is this fumble thing that I'm going through? And then you'll be different again, or it'll have to go through another iteration. And I'm like, well, I'm here for the web design part of that. So that can keep up. Because yeah, like for me, I'm designing my own. So I've had to like put it into a coming soon thing. And I'm like, I don't want you to have to do that. So it just constantly can evolve with you as you do this. That's what I'm here for. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, actually, it's a really sort of like interesting analogy there with the whole like web design, or especially like web redesign, especially like for people with like more personal brands and things like that. It's sort of like it really is like I can imagine kind of like I haven't thought about it this way, but sort of like fumbling through until you're like, oh yeah, this is who I am, this is how I'm gonna do the website, this is what reflects me, and yeah, I didn't
Yeah, a
think
lot
about
of
that.
people's
Mm.
websites don't reflect them, and then I feel like it stifles them. And I think the whole process, well, I am here for the whole process to be more of a like self-discovery as well, and hopefully bring out more of like your personality and you finding that you and your business at the time. And then if it doesn't stay like that for the time, I like to try, or I like to build in a way that it can evolve with you, like the whole like base of it. However, and it has space to like grow. And if you want to add other things like that, has that space. But also design wise, like I'm here for you to like shift that. Because yeah, I think if at least for me, like I change my colors and stuff like constantly because I can. Some people can't, but if you feel like you're like disconnected from who you are online, like that's gonna hinder you showing up as well. So let's just kind of let it snowball with you. So yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I've definitely had periods in the past that not so much the colors, my colors have been locked in for quite some time, but there's definitely been times in the past where it's like, okay, so my website's way out of date because like I've been over here experimenting before I commit to website changes because it's like I don't know if this latest iteration is it and I need to test it. And then it's like, oh, it is it, but then it's like having to update my website at times. So I've definitely had that in the past.
Yeah, yeah, it's hard. And there's a couple kinds of people I think like I like to update my website and commit or like, I've decided these are my packages, put it up there. Whereas like I love your way of doing it. I prefer to do it that way. It's like do some like research over here and then put it on your website, like live research. I guess I do that. That's what like I do with clients. But then being like, okay, I've written it out and
Mm.
I've put it live and then that makes it, I don't know, makes it like a flowy for me. And for some people, it's like the opposite of like, let's do it backwards. And I'm here for either one. So yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
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 Um, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think I've probably done it both ways where it's like, oh, it's like doing the websites helped me solidify it. And it's like, okay, here's what I'm going to go do. But then, yeah, I
Yeah.
have a problem with ideas. Ideas come to me very easily. I'll be talking to someone and be like, oh, hey, I should try this. Or, something comes up with a client and I'm just like, oh, I could build a whole course off that.
Yeah,
Just,
that's so good. Yeah, yeah. I just
just think,
recently found like I have all these like PDFs I made and then I never gave to like anyone except a few clients. And I'm like, I could
yeah,
give this to other people and do this into a course. And like, yeah.
yeah, yeah.
But that's, I guess, that shiny object syndrome. But
Mm.
yeah. Also, what I want to be there for is like your website. If you want to add a course to it, here I am. Let's just quickly add a course to it. Like
Yeah.
for those sparks of ideas instead of you having that barrier of like entry, being like, oh, I want this, but I'm not going to do it for like the next like year because it's too hard.
Mm.
Because I don't have anyone to like be there for it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, that whole the PDFs thing, I've actually built myself a little like I've got my knowledge base, which is like in a Google Drive folder, and I've set it up so I can like be sharing it with clients and things like that. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I'm doing
that's
more of that and then putting
yeah.
it up on my new
Like
iteration of my website. So yeah, yeah. Just put it out there, like don't gatekeep it.
yeah.
And yeah, yeah, be proud.
Okay. So like what brave things like that you might be working on in the next like 3 to 6 months? Like what?
Oh, okay. Wow. Oh, those couple things are like changing my whole life and then changing my whole business.
Is that
Um,
all? Like, you
that's
can do
all.
that overnight, can't you? Like, come on,
I know,
24
right?
hours.
I think the biggest annoyance in business, no, I guess yeah, annoyance is the word for me, but it's just like you have the idea and like why can't it just happen now? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Like the waiting period is really difficult for us, I think. So yeah, I think the more things you can execute at the time is great. But however, the next 6 months, I don't know. I do plan to start a new business, but like this has to do with like adventure and things. So I do think that the businesses I'm doing now, like they'll continue. So I started web design because I wanted to go off grid and finally like it's happening.
Yeah.
And yeah, so that's staying and the coaching is staying, but it's all like evolving into not potentially. I'm gonna say potentially because in the potential 6 months, I'm hoping it's this bad. But bringing women out to like come adventuring with me and from the truck, however, and going out in like 4-wheel drive and like setting up tours for us and doing women's circles out in the middle of nowhere, that kind of thing. So
Oh,
that's hopefully where that's evolving too. I feel like that'll land in just the 6 months. So yeah, if anyone wants to do that. So the whole idea, I really want to. I've been noticing how many people in the cities, especially in Australia, like haven't really left the city, and I'm like, you need to go see like more of Australia. Like I'm not even from here, and I've seen a lot. I'm like, don't wait for your boyfriend or a boyfriend with a
Mm.
four-wheel drive to like take you somewhere, or that kind of thing. Like,
Mm.
let's just build your independence instead of you having to buy a four-wheel drive, just like come hang out type thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
That's what I'm really excited about.
Mm. Oh my gosh, that sounds amazing. I love that. I completely agree on some people in the big cities really need to just like leave it and see what's on the other side.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to me. I'm like, everything's kind of like close. Like not even like not close, but there's a lot
Yeah.
of opportunities to see these things. Yeah. But I kind of
Mm.
get it. Like when I was in Canada, when I left Canada, now I'm like, oh, I didn't go there and I didn't go there and I missed that part. It was only 3 hours away.
Yeah.
Um, in like your own backyard. But at the same time, you're in Australia where you can't, it's harder to go to other places, yet people don't explore their own backyard. But yeah, I'm trying to make the barrier of entry to that a lot easier as well, especially for
Mm.
women.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Nice.
So when I was like solo traveling, I was like, cool, I want to go see Australia. But also I didn't realize okay, so I was younger also, and it seemed more dangerous than it is dangerous, but it isn't, right? And I'm like, okay, well, let's remove that fear barrier, so that you
Yeah.
can come and you can see and you can witness and you can get all that evidence of like, okay, well, maybe I can do this by myself, or another time. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Actually, I didn't even think about that actually, but for certain people and certain experience levels and that kind of thing, they could be like, oh yeah, let's go on this four-wheel driving thing out in the outback. And then all of a sudden it's like Wolf Creek is going through their head. It's like
yeah,
that would
yeah,
have been me in a past, iteration of myself actually with all the extra anxieties and things that I used to have. Like, yeah, now I'm
yeah.
all like, yeah, let's do it. This seems like fun. But yeah.
That's so great. Yeah. Isn't it weird how you can actually like get to a point where your mind's not bringing up those things and you kind of have
Yeah.
like silence in your mind? Like that's
Mm.
possible. I remember that not feeling it at all possible. Like I was like, yeah, surely everyone has this chaos in their mind. And I'm like, no, you can actually just hang out. And so it's really cool. But also, yeah, I remember like, yeah, I was gonna go out in my van, or I have gone, I do go out in my van. I do have a van that I go camping in by myself. But yeah, people brought up right away, oh, well, Wolf Creek. And I'm like, what do you mean? I don't know what that is. And then I was like,
No.
oh, this is bad. But yeah, honestly, just ask people. I was like, but honestly, like the world kind of guides you. And I went from Darwin to Broome and I met a road train driver random, which I don't know. I guess people wouldn't talk to strangers. I think talk to strangers, just don't stand too close to them
Yeah.
at first. Don't get kidnapped.
Yeah.
But he was like, don't go here and don't stop here and don't stop here. I can't remember what they are, but along that,
Mm.
one of
Yeah.
them's a creek as well. And maybe Wolf Creek is along there. But anyway, and he's like, just
Funny.
don't stop it there at night. And I was like, oh, thank you. Like, I
Mm.
didn't know. First of all, I probably wouldn't have stopped. I was going to just drive through.
Yeah.
But yeah, you can find these things out. And like, I do think you will, I don't know, be guided, surrender to it and just be like, just obviously don't be an idiot about it.
Mm.
take
Yeah.
your take your first aid, take your like, wits with you. But
Mm.
yeah, if you
Yeah.
don't go and you don't go in times where, death, you're not gonna die, explain it, go experience the things so that you can, without that like imminence of like death, go experience the smaller things and then like, you can build it up into something bigger. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting what you said about the whole talking to someone and, do you talk, don't you? And at least like Australians are quite friendly, especially out in the country areas and stuff.
So
They're
nice.
quite friendly and everything. I had that once where I was driving on my own a long trip here through like windy roads and the mountains and stuff like that over on this side of the country. And yeah, I stopped at a lookout and there was a guy there like on his own and like he just started chatting with me, but I still like even though like he seemed like normal and everything was fine, I still kind of didn't tell him exactly where I was going and where I was going to be staying, and just a couple of those things that was just like,
Yeah, it's always
just in
smart.
case. Like I'm sure you're fine, everything's normal, but just on the off chance, I'm just gonna not tell you exactly which small town I'm going to because,
Yeah, that's a really good point. I do think like if you're in tune with your intuition, maybe like you definitely listen to that. And yeah, I sometimes leave it out for sure for some people, or well, yeah,
Mm,
especially at the beginning. And
yeah.
then yeah, but I actually there's sometimes I've one recently where yeah, I accidentally was like, I'm just staying behind this thing. Oh, it was
Mm.
in Bali. Like I'm just sitting here. I'm like that I shouldn't have told you exactly where I'm going. But you know, you can only do so much, but just like
Yeah.
try your best to take
Yes.
care
Yeah.
of yourself, really. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. I mean, it's when I've been in other countries, I haven't thought about it as much. There was just this time where yeah, I don't know, there was just something in my brain that was just like maybe
Yeah.
not all the information for this person.
Yeah, a little bit red flaggy, and that's yeah, just
Yeah.
listen to those things as best as you can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You can only protect yourself so much. Like, there's people that, well, there's like, my weirdest one that comes up is like people have gone camping in their vans and then their partner has, or, the people that they're with have hurt them. And I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay, well, you're not safe anywhere. So does it matter? Like, not does it matter, but like, you
Mm.
can't just not do it. You can't just
Yeah.
not go. Yeah, that could
Yeah.
happen anywhere. And then there's people's houses that like collapse on them. You could be at home and be just as unsafe. So, but
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
the information you share, hold that in for a little bit, and then yeah, see,
Yeah.
suss it out.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Oh man. Okay. So if there's anybody listening to this who wants to do something brave, but they're kind of in their business and or maybe their life, but maybe business and they're kind of holding back, what kind of like advice or inspirational words or what would you say to that person?
That's great. They're looking to do something brave.
Mm,
I guess if like if you're hesitating or if you're feeling anxious about it, I think it's still that same like bring yourself back to your body. Like you've or like I think this happens a lot in people that you've made the decision to do this thing and then you start to like hesitate or you go, oh God, no. Like I really think that you've made that initial decision from the full you, the full body you that understands that you are capable of this, that you can handle this. It's gathered all that evidence from your previous past, right? But when you get to actually potentially taking action on it, I think it's really your brain takes over and you're like, you're in that mode of like doing like, writing out things or whatever. If it's for your business, for example, you're up in your brain again and you've just kind of let go of that, like knowing that you can handle this and you are capable of it. So if you get to that hesitation, I really think bringing yourself back to your body, doing a body scan, but then really just proving to your mind, thinking back to the past of being like, no, I've done this before, I've done that before. It doesn't have to be completely correlated, but like I've done this cool thing. I'm I've got to life this far. I can handle this. I'm really looking at what you're potentially hesitating about and being like, well, what's the worst case that can happen? And looking at it from that capable version of you that you've just brought those feelings into yourself of like, I am capable. This thing, if the worst case happens, it's really not going to be that bad because I will handle it. Because, like I said, like just close down the company, like be the boss bitch and do it. Like you can handle it. I'm like I said that a version of me would have felt like I couldn't have handled that, but I was presented this at a time where I could handle it, and yeah.
mm,
So yeah,
yeah.
that's I think how I would deal with it, and I that is how I deal with things moving forward now. And I wish I would have told that to my anxious, previously crippling anxious version of myself. Yeah,
Yeah.
because anxiety is really that feeling that you're incapable of handling what's in the future. In
Mm,
my opinion,
yeah.
yeah,
Or I can't handle it unless I'm prepared for it or something. And like for me, it was
yeah,
like the anxiety felt like it was helping me be prepared for anything to go wrong. Yet I was
yeah,
spending so much extra time and energy worrying about things that were never going to happen.
yeah. It's like waiting for that other penny to drop. That's what I had too, and that like
Yeah.
constant fluttering of like your heart being like, oh, God, what's gonna happen? And like, yeah, can I handle the thing? And you just try and I think some people get stuck in that loop of like trying to learn and educate or like, gather skills so that they can handle the thing, but then they never take the next step of taking the action because you're just stuck in that loop. I think really, yeah, seeing like, well, what's the worst thing that happens if I take the action right now? Like, not
Mm.
much. and, and look how capable I am. I have learned all these skills and I have done, big things before. It doesn't have to be that big of a thing. Like, just you've survived till now. You've done great. And people are probably inspired by your life in some way. You can find that evidence. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. For me, I find like I maybe don't say it quite the same way, but like sometimes I'm just like, no, no, no. Past me had faith and decided I'm just going to stick with what past me decided about this thing, something like that. Like for the smaller things, like what's on my schedule and why did I do it this way? It's like, no, 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 I'm not going to overthink it. I'm just, yeah, gonna do the thing and trust my
That's a
past
good
self.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I think you don't know how you're going to feel in the day anyway. So, I mean, but you can handle things as things are thrown at you, right? Like you made your busy schedule for yourself today, right? You're
Mm.
handling it great.
Yes.
Even though you're like, why did I do this to myself? Like it's not the end of the world. And then you've just made more space for yourself the next coming days. So
Mm.
like what
Yeah.
else? Yeah. You
Yeah.
can account for everything that's gonna happen.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, to be honest, like here's the fun part. I make my schedules thinking I'm going to get a full night's sleep. Then I don't get a full night's sleep. It's like, geez, this would have
What
been
do you do
easier.
at night?
Hey,
What do you do
um,
at night? Do you have insomnia of some sort?
not exactly. I just, yeah, I tend to struggle with getting to sleep because for some, like, if I go past a certain time in the evening, that's when all of a sudden all the creative ideas start happening, or yeah, just, or I'm watching a TV show and like I have to know what happens next, and yes, it's not exactly the most. And like, here's some of the fun thought errors that I have to deal with. It's like, okay, so what is it? I'm already staying up late, so I'm already going to have less sleep than I want to. I'm already going to be tired. So I might as well just see what happens in the show and just like,
Yeah,
if
that
I'm going to
really
be tired, I'm going to be
snowballs.
really tired. And just, it's, yes, some
I
fun
did that
things
the
that I'm
other
working on.
night.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
My partner went away for like 3 days. And then when he goes away, I'm just like, whatever. This is cool. I'll just like live my best life. And I stay up till like 4 in the morning. But it was like really enjoyable. But
Hmm.
yeah, I'm like, just get the most joy out of it instead of sitting there worrying. And I was like, just enjoy like what you're
Hmm.
doing.
Yeah.
That's like, I think really just be in the now. And if the now is keeping you awake, cool. But also if it's like thoughts and creatives, just write it down. And if you're you, I
Hmm.
think, yeah, just process it and like move through your body and then go to sleep.
Hmm.
I think it's just like energy that we haven't used throughout the day in my mind. Like I am someone who kind of like contains their energy. And I've realized that recently, or like that I found the words for it, right? I've just been like
Hmm.
containing it. And like
Sorry,
every,
what does that mean? What do you mean by containing your energy? Sorry.
yeah, like,
Hmm.
mm, I don't
Like,
know
what's
how
an
to
example? Is there an example? Sorry.
like well not being fully you or not that's one example that's more of a vague one even just like how to explain it when I was really afraid of public speaking I'm realizing that it was just like this like buildup of energy that it was like suffocating me. So I actually had a recent experience too where we were in like training and we were doing public speaking and then all of this energy started building up in me and I was like, "Oh my God, what is this?" And I was like crying. But I wasn't like scared. I was just like, I can't handle this feeling. But in the past I felt it as fear. I was like, I can't handle this feeling, but I'm like, it's just energy. I don't know. I finally saw it as what it was and I went and like jumped around and like processed it and like still sucked at what we did, but did the thing. Yeah. So it was like, I was like, I just really like hold it in instead of like feeling. I think it's the same like if you have anger, like express it, scream it into a pillow and just like let the contained energy out. And like the same with if you're staying awake, I think that you haven't maybe used all your energy throughout the day or like used all of your or processed something that's like trying to move through you is what I'm trying to say, not just like
Hmm.
physically moving around. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, that could be a really great point because I like perhaps like I definitely don't have a thing in the evenings where like I actually have a way of perhaps just maybe processing unused energy or just getting down into relaxed time or something like that, Yeah, it's
Yeah. Maybe it's like the masculine, the feminine energy as well. Maybe you could be stuck in that masculine energy drive as well, especially if there's those ideas. There's like
mm,
a wind down period of like, I did have to do this for a while too, is take a bath after
mm,
work. Like, at like,
yeah.
especially because we work from home, take a bath and go back into that like feminine energy. It doesn't have to be a bath, but that's like a really
Mm,
drawing the line kind of one that you can do. And it just brings you back into that feminine, put on a fluffy robe after and like light a
mm,
candle. And it really does help your mind as well.
mm,
Yeah. I used to stay awake
yeah.
all the night at night worrying.
Mm,
So yeah, that was one of the, especially with business, like that transition to business and having a worrying mind before, that was kind of like the in between that I did.
yeah.
And now I'm like naturally doing it. So I don't need to take a physical bath anymore. So
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. Definitely when I had more of my anxiety, and then, like you said, that anxiety plus business just equals at night worrying, go sleep. That's
Yeah.
not
It
what it
just,
is now, but yeah, it's just like, yeah, just the things that people say to go to sleep. I had one coach she said to me, "Oh, at nighttime when you're watching TV and your eyes start to get tired, that's the time you're supposed to go to sleep." And I'm just like, if if it was that easy, I would have done it decades ago. Like this is a thing I've had since I was a kid, right? Like it's just, yeah. Anyway, so
yeah,
yes.
it's a good point. I
Mm.
think that's one of those things, is a combination of things like just, paying attention to it. You find maybe that's like the last thing you get to work on because you said you've cleared out your anxiety, etc. Now just focus on how do you need to process it so you can go to sleep.
Mhm. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's a great idea. It's definitely something that I can try since since I haven't tried that yet. So,
Sounds good.
yeah.
Let me know how
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah, awesome. All right. Thank you for the little detour about my sleep stuff, by the way. Thank you. Sorry about that.
No, I love
Um,
it. That's great.
yeah, yeah. Thank you so much for all of your time today, all of your amazing stories and just your insights. I always appreciate your perspective on, like websites, business, bravery, mindset stuff, all of that goodness. So we will, of course, have links to all of your stuff in the show notes. But for people like me who are like, screw the show notes, I'm just going to go look you up right now. Where should they go find you? Where's the best place?
Oh, I love that. No, yeah. And first of all, I love talking to you all the time. This is so great. So thank you for having me. Yeah, people can find me mostly on Instagram. I'm at amanda.petra underscore underscore because that's just, yeah. I do have like an Untamed Designs page. That's my web, but that's like I've started it after and just collecting a few things there. But yeah, untameddesigns.com.au is launching very soon again in like probably about a week. And yeah, you can find me there. You can come see me for website design or mentoring. Yeah, I think that's what I'm here for. I'm really excited. And come, yeah, DM me on Instagram. That's where I love to have a chat. So
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much.
thank you. It was awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Business Bravery podcast. Has this episode inspired you to do something brave? Even if it's only send a difficult email, please share it with me on Instagram or other social media channels. Feel free to tag me at Tiffany G Studios. That's TIFFANY. G for golf, STUDIOS, no spaces, no underscores, etc. Or you can use the hashtag Business Bravery Podcast so that I can cheer you on and together we can inspire other coaches and course creators to do brave things in their business and life. Now, I'm Tiffany and I'll leave you with this one last thing. What's one brave thing you're going to do today? It doesn't have to be big. Even the smallest steps can create the most massive results. So again, feel free to share it with me either publicly or privately so that I can cheer you on. That's it from me. Until next time, bye for now.